Deep within the vast African savanna, a moment unfolded that defied everything we believe about nature. A fragile deer chose to raise a lion. The rangers at Kruger National Reserve were the first to witness it, and even they struggled to believe their eyes. A slender, alert deer stood quietly in the golden grass, her ears twitching at every distant sound. But beside her, resting against her body, was something impossible. A newborn lion cub. She was later named Mara. The cub, Rummy. Ramy's story began in tragedy. His mother had been killed by poachers, her body left lifeless under the harsh sun. Nearby, hidden in the grass, the tiny cub cried helplessly, hungry, alone, and moments away from death. Every instinct in Mara should have told her to run. Lions were not just predators, they were the reason her kind lived in fear. For generations, deer had survived by fleeing from creatures like him. But Mara didn't run. Instead, she stepped closer. Gently, she lowered her head and nudged the trembling cub. He responded with a weak sound, pressing closer to her warmth. And in that moment, something unexplainable happened. She accepted him. She allowed him to rest against her body. She let him drink the milk meant for her own fawn. She protected him, as if he were her own. From a distant observation post, Dr. Elizabeth Thornton, the reserve's lead veterinarian, watched in stunned silence through her binoculars. "This shouldn't be possible," she whispered. Nature had rules, and this broke all of them. Yet day after day, Mara stayed. What began as a moment turned into something far greater. She moved across the plains with both her fawn and the lion cub following behind her. His tiny paws unsteady, his movements clumsy. She groomed him, licking his fur clean. At night, she curled her body around both young ones, shielding them from the cold wind. It was a sight both beautiful and deeply unsettling. A prey animal raising a predator. The rangers debated stepping in. Some feared the danger. Others wanted to observe this rare bond. But Mara had already made her choice, and she wasn't turning back. As Ramy grew, so did the complexity of their relationship. One day, Mara led them to the remains of a carcass left behind by other predators. She didn't eat. Instead, she stepped aside and gently nudged Ramy toward the meat. At first, he hesitated. Then, instinct took over. He bit into it. Mara watched calmly as he began to understand what he truly was. It was as if she was telling him, "Become who you are meant to be, but never forget what you've been given." And somehow, Ramy began to learn both. As weeks turned into months, Ramy began to change in ways no one could ignore. His paws grew heavier, pressing deeper into the earth with every step. His muscles developed beneath his golden fur. His teeth sharpened, and his eyes, once soft and uncertain, now carried focus, awareness, and growing power. But there was something unusual about him, something the rangers couldn't fully explain. Ramy wasn't just growing into a predator. He was learning restraint. Whenever he played too roughly with Mara's fawn, she corrected him instantly, not with fear, but with firm, clear boundaries. A push, a warning, a message he began to understand. When his instincts told him to crouch low and stalk nearby deer, Mara would step in front of him, breaking his focus, forcing him to stop. Again and again, she taught him the same silent lesson. You are strong, but strength must be controlled. And slowly, Ramy understood. The rangers began to see a pattern forming. This lion was different. He wasn't driven only by hunger or instinct. He was learning something rare in the wild, discipline, and something even rarer, mercy. But life in the savannah is never peaceful for long. One evening, as the sky burned orange and shadows stretched across the land, danger approached. A hyena, silent, patient, watching, drawn by the scent of milk, weakness, and opportunity. Mara sensed it instantly. She stepped forward, placing herself between the threat and her young. Her hooves struck the ground sharply. Her body trembled, but she did not step back. Beside her, Ramy reacted. His fur rose, his body stiffened, and then he roared. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't powerful, but it was brave. The sound cut through the air, small yet fearless. The hyena hesitated, confused. This was no normal situation. A deer, standing its ground. A lion cub, defending her. After a tense moment, the hyena turned and disappeared into the shadows. That night marked a shift. Ramy was no longer just surviving. He was becoming. But the greatest test came without warning. A group of young male lions entered the territory, strong, aggressive, and driven by a brutal instinct. Eliminate future threats before they grow too powerful. They saw Ramy. They recognized what he could become. The air grew heavy. The wind seemed to stop. Even the grass felt still. Mara stepped forward, without hesitation, without fear. She placed her fragile body between Raimi and the approaching lions, a deer, standing against death itself. She stomped the ground. She snorted sharply. Her entire being screamed one message: "You will not touch him." The lions slowed. Confusion flickered in their eyes. This wasn't how prey behaved. And then Raimi moved. He stepped beside Mara, shoulder to shoulder. For the first time, his roar wasn't a cub's cry. It was deep, raw, powerful. It echoed across the acacia trees, vibrating through the land itself. The young lions paused. They studied him. And then, slowly, they backed away, not defeated, but unwilling to challenge something they didn't fully understand. In that moment, everything changed. Mara had given him life. Now, Raimi had the strength to protect hers. But even the strongest bonds cannot stop the passage of time. The Rangers knew the truth. Raimi could not stay. To live fully as a lion, he needed a pride. His own kind, his own world. The decision was painful, but necessary. He was moved to a nearby reserve, where a pride of lionesses lived without a dominant male. The first days were tense. The lionesses circled him cautiously. He smelled different. He carried something unfamiliar. But Raimi didn't challenge them. He didn't force dominance. Instead, he did something unexpected. He earned it. He hunted and shared his food. He guarded the territory through the night. He drove away rivals without unnecessary violence. He listened, observed, learned. Everything Mara had taught him. He carried into this new life. Weeks passed, then months, and slowly, the pride accepted him. Cubs played at his feet. Lionesses rested beside him. He had become their leader, a king. But even as a king, he was not like the others. Near the edges of his territory, deer often grazed peacefully. They were easy prey, weak, unprotected. Any other lion would have taken the opportunity. But Raimi never did, not once. He would watch them quietly, then turn away, as if somewhere deep inside him, a memory still lived. A gentle presence, a warm body in the cold night, a mother who was never meant to be his. Time moved on, seasons changed, and far away, Mara grew older. Her steps slowed, her strength faded, but her eyes, they never lost that calm, unshakable certainty. The certainty of a choice she had made long ago, and never regretted. One quiet morning, under a soft pink sky, the Rangers found her lying in the grass. Still, peaceful, gone, no struggle, no fear, just rest. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a roar echoed across the savannah. Raimi stood at the edge of his territory, alone, watching the distance where Mara once lived. And he roared again, long, deep, carrying something far beyond power, grief, gratitude, love. The deer nearby did not run. They lifted their heads and listened. Then slowly, calmly, they returned to grazing, because somehow they understood. Nature is not always written in blood and survival. Sometimes it is rewritten by compassion. Mara proved that love can cross even the strongest boundaries. And Raimi proved that true strength is not just in power, but in remembering kindness. Even in the wild, even among predators and prey, love finds a way.